Good evening, everybody. Welcome to a special Wigan Fan TV. It is Saturday. I'm not getting the days confused. I know that we normally go live on a Wednesday, but I'm very excited that I can introduce Sharon Lill from Toronto fans live in Toronto at the moment. That is their picture on the screen. So if you're expecting their mouths to move, it won't be. But Sharon Lill, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining me.
Oh, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Fun.
Obviously, one of the main reasons to get you guys on the show this week was because the Wolfpack are playing Wigan later in the week. Toronto played today against Salford, the second ever game in Super League. Another defeat, but do you think, from what you've heard or what you've read, it certainly feels like you're possibly moving in the right direction in terms of performances?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, unfortunately, we weren't able to see the game. It wasn't televised, and so for us over here, so we just kind of kept up with the live Twitter updates. But it did seem that there were, less mistakes and a lot more to build on this time around. And I mean, Salford's a great team. They were in the grand final last year. I mean, I know they've lost a few players, one especially to you, but they're a great team, and I think it was a lot closer today. Again, not the result that we wanted, but I mean, you have to expect growing pains. We're in the top tier now, and I mean, I think you can just take away the positives. We got on the board quick.
Yeah.
First.
And Gary, somebody who's been kind of off for a little bit for injury, right? For last year, struggled a little bit. Came out strong. We have a new guy who's now, scored the first time in Toronto Wolfpack jersey. Pretty exciting to see some new guys in. Of course, also some of the old favorites doing well out there.
So obviously that's two defeats in a row, which sounds like a really negative way to start the show. I apologise, but we'll get that out of the way. But a new team coming into the league, this is probably one of the, if not the first time since maybe Catalans came into the league or the Crusaders that we've had a genuinely new team come into Super League with the threat of relegation, which is unique in the sense. So, what? At the start of the season, what are your hopes? What would be a good season for the Wolfpack come October?
Well, we really don't think we're going to be relegated. So
I mean, I think are we concerned in terms of how the team's been performing thus far? Not really. I think the teams, like Sherry said, we are having some growing pain. We need to stretch our wings into the Super League. Get used to the crowd, get used to the new league and the new level of playing. We haven't had to play at this level yet. In fact, a lot of Toronto fans have said, they are getting tired of watching us always win because there is almost no competition to watch again, play against. So this is a new round for us, new things for us to get used to as well. So there will be some games that we're not going to win, but we're confident that we will be doing well on other games. And we recently, just right after the game, talked to a couple of fans in UK, and they're saying that they're seeing better forms today out of the team. So that's exciting. We don't get to watch those games yet, but we're super excited when they get back to the Dan, the Lamport Stadium, because that's completely a different atmosphere for the team. I think for the players, especially the players who have not played at the Lamport Stadium, the environment itself will give them a lot more strength. And, I think it'll be very different playing it in our own place.
As always, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, do you think that's one of the things to really hold on to as a Wolfpack fan? That home form, I mean, home and away form over the past 2-3 seasons, obviously been sensational. But do you think that the travel, the atmosphere in Toronto is going to mean, will give the Wolfpack an advantage, and that is where you're going to pick up the most of your points to keep you in Super League?
I mean, don't get me wrong. I think we're going to pick up points away as well. I think it's early in the season, and as Lil said, I mean, they're just getting their feet wet in Super League. So I think you're going to see. You'll definitely see wins at home, but I think you're going to see those away wins as well. But I do think that whenever you play home, you have an advantage. So unfortunately, we have to play a couple of our home games away because of the weather here in Toronto. Unfortunately. But when they do come back, they are going to have, the almost 10,000 fans that we get out pretty much every game now, behind them. And they're really, I mean, we can't say we've never been to the UK and watched a game, but I think that Lamport here in Toronto with the Wolfpack is pretty special. And I think that your fans, I'm sure there's going to be many of them traveling to Toronto, will really enjoy and appreciate that as well when they witness and experience the whole thing.
Absolutely. We'll touch on that, I guess, in just a minute for any tips and advice that you might want to give to travelling Super League fans and travelling Wigan fans in April time. Just out of curiosity, how cold at the moment is it in Toronto?
Well, today's really cold, actually, but the rest of the week has been about 1 or 2 degrees.
Yeah, it hasn't been too bad.
Celsius.
We've been pretty lucky that it is still bearable. But there are days in February that we get down to negative 40 degrees with wind chill Celsius. So it's
with
definitely
wind chill though. It's not on its own.
Yeah, okay. But it's still not weather that you want to play rugby outside.
No.
Absolutely. We're getting a few comments on here as well. So if anybody's got any questions for the girls that you'd like me to put towards them, just let me know. Don't worry. Wigan fans are nice. Don't worry about that. And we've got Nate watching as well from Rugby League in America podcast as well. Good evening to you, Nate, or good afternoon. So one of the things that I asked you off air, and you said that's a long story. Let's touch on it. How did the Wolfpack become involved in your lives, and how did you come to do the great stuff that you're doing on social media at the moment?
Well, first of all, thank you for that. We appreciate that. So Lil and I both are sports fans, and I'm a hardcore sports fan. So I watch all sports, and I'm fans of all sports. But I did watch some rugby union on the internet. So I had a friend that went to school in Australia, and was super keen on the All Blacks. So she came back, introduced me to the All Blacks. I watched a few games online and was quite impressed, obviously. And then, the Wolfpack were announced that they were coming to town. So I thought, okay, this is going to be great. It's going to be professional rugby league, mind you. But right here in Toronto, in our own backyard. Mm-hmm. So I actually ended up, this is Cher, by the way, talking. Okay. I actually ended up, just so you know, ended up winning season's tickets the first year that the Wolfpack were in existence. Oh, wow. So, yeah, I'm a little lucky that way.
She's actually very lucky. She wins tickets all the time.
So I won these tickets, and I went to all the games, and I invite a new friend every time, and, just to experience it. And, the one game, I invited Lil out, and, right away she was hooked. And she's like, okay, no one else gets the second season ticket. It's mine. And so really from that moment on, the two of us, were at every game.
Fantastic.
Right. Yes, every single game since then.
Yeah, it's such an exciting sport. It's so fast paced, it's hard hitting. What's not to love about it? And to just have it here, like I said, in our own backyard is so exciting.
And the energy right away in Lamport Stadium is just amazing. You could definitely feel the pounding on the field when you're sitting, out on the stands, but also you can feel the energy in the stands with the fans. And it's a very different atmosphere with a lot of other sports that I've attended. I just felt right away there was a connection with the people there, connection with the sport itself. You just feel like you're a part of the action, whether it's during the game or after the game.
The fans are all...
Sorry, go on.
Oh, yeah, no, it really feels like a family. All the fans in the stands, everybody's talking. And then the players, in North American professional sport, you never get the opportunity to interact with the athletes. Yeah. And so in rugby league with the Wolfpack at Lamport, those players are coming out after the game, walking the perimeter of the field, shaking fans' hands, talking to fans.
After 80 minutes of playing on the field for most of them.
Giving it their all. They leave it all out there.
It's amazing. So I think the fans are really growing to love this sport, also because the athletes are just amazing.
Yeah, very appreciative. I think the fans are very appreciative of the players, what they bring to the sport and the sport itself.
It's really refreshing to hear, and actually really nice to hear your voices with North American accents talking about rugby league in the way that in the way that
we have accents.
Yeah, I mean, you might say
You're
that
the one with the accent.
You're going to tell me that I have an accent now as well. But it's really refreshing to hear you say exactly the same things that make rugby league so popular for us who watch it here. It is that sense of community. The game itself is, we don't need to sell it to ourselves, but it's the fact that it's so fast paced. Anything can happen, anything can change within the 80 minutes. But it is that sense of community and sometimes the approachability of the players as well, which when we compare it over here to Premier League football or something similar, it's a million miles away because you have got that accessibility, which it's really refreshing to hear that it's exactly the same for you over in Toronto as well, which I think gives it that sense of organic growth that it really needs, rather than Toronto's just happened, let's throw a load of players in there, but we're not bringing the same values and the same values, I guess, that's allowed rugby league to get to where it is in the heartlands at the moment. So that's really refreshing to hear, actually. One of the big things, and I guess it ties into what you said about going watching rugby union and the All Blacks. Well, you happen to get probably one of the greatest All Blacks of all time.
Yep.
In the form of Sonny Bill Williams. It's had an impact globally. It's had an impact in Wigan, for example. Sonny Bill Williams was at Wigan on, I think it was Thursday night, doing
I saw photos of that.
Yeah, doing a community evening.
Yeah.
So I mean, what does it mean to you as fans of the Wolfpack to have a name like Sonny Bill Williams playing there?
I think it brings a whole new demographic to our sport in Toronto. I think it brings a lot more recognition across that we are able to attract top-notch players. So I think it's been super exciting. He's all over the news here, and we are super excited over this meet. And we were just talking about that today. Like, when do we get to meet him and really talk to him about his experience in his career? And it's super amazing that we are able to get to that level of players and be able to have that almost accessibility as well to a different demographic that we wouldn't have normally. Yeah.
No, and I think that Toronto was sort of on the map, but I think they're really on the map now. I mean, everybody now. I mean, it's on mainstream TV. It's on mainstream, like it's in the newspapers, like national newspapers. I mean, he is making headlines. Oh. And again, it's not only for the Toronto Wolfpack, but as you said, it's globally. It's promoting the sport of rugby league. And I think it's win-win for everyone that he has come. He's joined the RFL. He's part of Toronto, but he's part of that global community. And as Lil said, it's not just rugby league. It's sports fans everywhere are now taking notice of him, the Toronto Wolfpack, the RFL, rugby league. It's everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I've just seen Sonny Bill Williams in the I've got my Toronto hat here. I mean, that just shows, I think, the actual impact that the Wolfpack have had in terms of the branding. Is that I would go and spend money on a hat for another team, which seems daft, but it is that impact that they've seemed to have got right with the marketing right from the get go, and then to start adding players. And I think it is very much the start, Sonny Bill Williams, of who will go to Toronto. I think as soon as we sort out the salary cap and perhaps more marquee players, that's the only thing that's standing in the way of Toronto getting more and more players and bringing them into our league. And I think that there's photographs today from Sonny Bill Williams at the Salford game, taking the time again at the end of the game to have his photograph taken with Salford fans. Yeah. He has that impact of people wanting to go and watch him when he's playing at their club as well and at their ground, to see such a legend of the game. And it's really nice to hear you say about the impact that it's having in national news over in Canada as well, which is fantastic for something that 4 years ago didn't really exist. It's quite incredible, really. So in terms of, so you got Sonny Bill Williams, the home games start, I guess, for you guys in April time, when Hull go over to Toronto. Wigan are very shortly following them. What can Wigan fans expect, or Super League fans expect, when they're visiting Toronto? And have you got any top tips for them?
Well, it's a wonderful city. I think that it's a big city, a wonderful city. No one's going to be disappointed coming over. There's so much to do. It really offers something for everyone, right?
It's very international as well. So I think, for somebody who's never been to North America, I think it would be great to, as a first city to even be at and be able to kind of get an idea of what multiculturalism is.
Yes.
We really are full of surprises across the entire city. No matter where you go, you can get something, very different to eat or different to do across the city. But also, we're very close to some natural wonders. So Niagara Falls has been a big attraction. Definitely recommend that for anyone who's traveling that far.
And there is a GO train now, which is like a high-speed train that, high-ish speed train. Not like not in Europe
yet, or in Asia.
Let's clarify that. But there is a direct train that goes from Toronto to Niagara Falls that we would definitely recommend taking and doing that visit. It is, like you said, one of the wonders of the world. And I mean, you can't come to Canada and be that close to Niagara Falls and miss out on that. So that's a for sure.
Yeah. And I think in general, people will be very pleasantly surprised with the Lamport Stadium experience.
Yes.
I think it's so friendly and so almost humbling too for both sides. To see that the fans are actually cheering for both sides. It's actually quite interesting, a phenomenal. After the game, everyone's really friendly to everybody, and that what we found with rugby league in general as a community has been almost very educational for the rest of the community, right? Like I agree. And you see the athletes go out on the field and compete furiously with each other, and then afterwards they are hugging and shaking hands and wishing each other well, and that they're all friends really. At one point played, or at one point hang out together. So, and then that kind of bleeds out in the fans as well, and we welcome all the visiting fans with open arms, and you can definitely feel that energy in the stadium.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, no one's booing each other in the stands at Lamport. Like everybody's friendly. And then, the fans of both teams at the end, I'm sure you've heard of our famous beer garden at the Lamport Stadium.
We all hang out there.
Everybody's hanging out there. Everybody's happy. And it's just, everybody's friends. And I think, again, it just speaks to the culture of the sport of rugby league. I think it, again, back to that whole community. The players go hard at each other for 80 minutes, but then are the best of friends off. And I think it's the same with the fans. The fans all want their own team to win, but again, just from our experience at Lamport, is everybody's happy and friendly and cordial and everything towards each other. So it really is really nice to see.
Yeah.
I think one thing that you've just said there about the beer garden, but I think what we've seen from Toronto in the sort of first few years of the existence, and when you see the games over here on the television, is the way that the game is, the actual physical game is viewed there is more of a spectacle rather than just a game. It is an event, and I think that's something that we're really learning about the game over here, and probably learning a lot from Toronto.
It's a North American thing. Yeah, it really is. We make everything a spectacle.
and I think hopefully that just grows and grows into our game. I mean, it feels unfair for you to give us an insight to Toronto and Niagara Falls without me sort of giving you an insight into Wigan, So for any Toronto or Canadian fans that are coming over to Wigan, and you want to know about the version of Niagara Falls that exists in Wigan, just get in touch. We'll sort you out. And we'll struggle to find something similar. But we've got Wigan Pier for anybody that's coming over for the first time.
I'm sure you're going to get lots of fans over there because just for the experience and to see your team. It's a great team. We're looking forward to playing you. And another thing to talk about Toronto too is we are a sports city. So fans coming over that love their sports, they're going to go and experience a fantastic time at Lamport Stadium with the Toronto Wolfpack, but they have the Toronto Blue Jays if they're interested in catching a Major League Baseball game. If they want to catch a CFL football game, there's the Toronto Argos.
Depending on the time of the season, you can catch all sorts of different sports.
Yeah. And Toronto fans are, I think, pretty special too because we embrace all of our sports. And I think when you go to some places, you know, you have a fan. If you're a fan of football, the Toronto football team, you're not a fan of anything else in Toronto.
Yeah.
But we embrace all our sports, and we're fans of all our teams, and we're loyal to all of our teams. And I think people coming over will see that.
And the other surprising thing is a lot of us are actually not from Toronto itself. So Toronto fan, when we say Toronto, it's a loose term because there's a lot of us who are fans who are traveling hours to get in to see Toronto play. Like me personally, I'm about an hour and a half to 2 hours, depending on where I am the day, away from the stadium itself. And I travel in and I'll go watch it. And then there are plenty of people who are seasons pass holders that are 2 hours north from a different direction.
Yes.
And
Ottawa.
So there's a big demographic area, definitely big region of people that are behind the Toronto sports, right?
Yes.
And to Sherry's point, we have. I would like to say we have like super fans because they're really not. Some of our sport teams aren't the best of the teams in the league that they're playing.
They haven't won in many years.
But that doesn't matter because Toronto fans will follow diehard fans for these teams, and so I think Toronto Wolfpack is also gaining a lot from that culture here, sports culture here.
I guess one of the things that'll only assist that and probably add to that is the development of the Ottawa team as well. As and when they come, hopefully into the RFL, into whatever division they're starting, and like you say, you're travelling 2 hours to get to the games. That's only going to spread as more North American teams hopefully get involved. I'll read you one of the comments on the screen that I've just put on there, which is Daniel says it's great to have Toronto in the game, huge opportunity for the sport, and that Toronto now is second favourite team. And I think you'll find that quite a bit over here now. Is that Toronto have very quickly become a team that's almost polarised opinion, depending on where you are in rugby league. They're either your second team, or if you're completely against expansion, they're a team that you really dislike at times, as we probably saw. I saw when during the Featherstone game last year, when obviously you got promoted, I was quite surprised at the amount of people that wanted Featherstone to win. For me, it was a no-brainer to get Toronto in the league. But I think you know as a team to have that many people following Toronto as a second team is quite an unusual and I guess quite a nice place to be as well. So certainly shook things up in Super League, which is exactly what was needed at the time and certainly needed moving forward. So Thursday night. We move on to Wigan versus Toronto now. Wigan.
It's a quick turnaround.
It is a quick turnaround
for both teams.
Absolutely. So Wigan coming off the back of a defeat last night. Toronto obviously a defeat today as well. Wigan. I'm obviously going to be very biased, but Wigan, the most famous rugby club in the world. What are you expecting from Thursday? Is it an opportunity to see where the Wolfpack have come from starting up to them playing against one of the most famous names in the game, or is it just simply it's a league game where you need those 2 points?
I think it's a bit of both, maybe.
Yeah, I think we haven't seen enough Super League games to say, how we're performing against the overall, level of the league. But I think one thing for sure, we know the team itself, that they are going to bring their best on the field. So I think whether or not, I do see that I've seen and heard that there are mistakes that's been made, but I think there's going to be also a lot of discussions around how to actually, get rid of that nervousness and move on and get better at this level of play, right? So I think there will be quite a bit of, I hope there'll be quite a bit of discussion on how to actually play and execute, and that they'll come out and play much better next time.
Right. And then the boys are playing hard. I mean, again, we haven't. I saw the first game. We didn't see the second game because it wasn't televised. But they're coming out. They're giving it their all, and that's all you can ask. And just again, plan and execute. Again, there are those growing pains. Yes, Wigan's a fantastic team. However, I think they need to go into it with the mindset is, okay, this is our game. This is how we're going to play, and not get too caught up in the hype of everything, because I think you run into problems if that's the case.
One of the
hopefully, I'm hoping we're going to get some of our boys back. That would be nice. We've got some of our boys down to injury right now, and another one who I don't think is in the UK yet. So, I mean, we don't have our full team, and that being said, I'm going to put quotation marks around full team, because we realize that we do have a small squad. So we're small to begin with, plus missing a bunch of players, like I said, due to injury or visa issues, which hopefully can be cleared up. So, we're going.
If anything, that is one of our biggest point, right? So that we are a small team to start with, and to maintain at that level of playing for that long a season with that small team. That's going to be the difficult part, I think. Yeah.
But don't forget, you haven't seen us at our best with all of our full squad yet.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Well, what I was going to say is, as a Wigan fan, I mean, I don't want to sort of put any sort of seeds of opportunity in your mind, but Wigan do have a tendency. I think it's 12 years ago, however long it goes, when Catalans first came into Super League. Wigan were the very first team to play against the brand new Catalans team, and Catalans beat Wigan then. So Wigan can sometimes provide a fantastic platform because of that historic. The nature of Wigan and the history of Wigan, that I've just put Carol's comment on screen. Opposition teams can really get up for that. And how about that for what could be a fantastic story for you on Thursday of Toronto getting the first ever Super League points at Wigan? It would be horrendous for us, but it's a real possibility.
Well, we believe it can happen. Absolutely.
We have confidence in our team.
We do. We believe in our team. Small but mighty. We do. I mean, they can do it. They could have. I mean, today was a tight game. It could have been their game for sure.
Absolutely.
So and really, even the Castleford game, I think that. I mean, we weren't blown out by any means. I think we were in both of those games. I think today seemed, again, I didn't see it, but today seemed to be a better game. So I mean, as long as we keep on that, what's that word? Trajectory. Thank you. I think. I mean, we're not going to be losing every game. That's for sure. I mean, we're a strong team. We're out there to win, and we're going to get those wins. It would be great to get it this Thursday for sure against a top team like Wigan.
And I think from a Wigan point of view, there's a heck of a lot of pressure on ourselves this week to perform as well, coming off the back of a defeat. At home in a game that we are expected to beat Toronto, so we're putting a lot of pressure on ourselves. But I think I've just put Mel's comment on screen saying it's a long season, plenty of time to work on the little issues, and I think like you said, the way that Toronto closing the gap from the Castleford game to the Salford game, if you continue like that, by the time you're playing at home, I'm sure you'll be picking up plenty of points.
We're gonna get our first win before that, though.
Okay.
Just putting that out there.
Okay.
Not waiting for them to come home to win.
Absolutely. I mean, and I think you've got a pretty good chance of doing that. But if we could hold off at least a week, that would be fantastic for us. But ladies, thank you. Thank you so much.
We'll talk again on Friday, shall we?
We'll see. I may be busy on Friday, depending on what happens. Ladies, thank you so much for taking the time out of your afternoon over in Toronto to speak. And I'm sure we'll catch up again at some point during the season, and genuinely wish you all the best for the season. But like I say, if you could just hold off and maybe delay it for a week, because Wigan are a club that we like to have a meltdown, and a defeat against Toronto on Thursday would definitely be the start of we call it the Wigan wobble. And it would definitely be the start of the Wigan wobble if you do beat us on Thursday. So Sharon, Lil, thank you for your time this evening. Thanks everybody for watching, and best of luck for the season, ladies.
Thank you very much. We appreciate you having on. We look forward to welcoming all the Wigan fans over in Toronto soon.
Yeah, come over and have fun.
Yeah, and come say hello, Sharon, Lil. You can't miss us. We're in the front row.
Wonderful. Thank you, ladies.
Take care.
See you later. Bye bye.